Happy Monday, Michelle Lee here. For those of you who don't know me, I have been a certified hypnotherapist for over 20 years, EFT practitioner, and a women's empowerment coach for a couple of decades. And I absolutely find the human mind and the power of the mind absolutely fascinating. And I had the experience of watching Stolen Youth, a docu-series on Netflix about Lawrence Ray and the sex cult that he created. And although the effects are super painful for the young kids that had that experience, it also proves the power of the mind. It proves it's a fascinating story to see. If you haven't seen it, go watch it if you're fascinated by the power of the mind at all. I'm definitely fascinated by the power of the mind, and I'm fascinated about how people can influence other people. And obviously, Lawrence Ray is he's delusional, he's psychotic, he's a narcissist. He has several diagnoses from his therapies. And he was able to bring into his delusion 8 college students or 6 or something. And like I said, I find that absolutely fascinating. And then I go to, if this can be used for harm, how do we use it for good? How do we use it for good? But it proves just, if you watch the documentary, you can see sort of the process he used to mold the minds of these young adults, proving how malleable the mind is. Like, you don't have to go into hypnosis. That's why I went into hypnotherapy in the first place, was the power of the mind, right? So years ago, I helped people stop smoking in 2 hours, one session. It didn't matter if they smoked for 20 years, 40 years, whatever it was. By them making the decision that they wanted to be a non-smoker and agreeing to hypnosis, they became a non-smoker in 2 hours. Never picked up a cigarette or had a desire to smoke again. Now, in this documentary, this man was able to consciously plant memories into his victims. Okay? So that just shows, like, it took them time to unlearn these memories that he told them. These students totally turned their back on their families, believing in what he had told them. And so we still see this, right? We still see this in all kinds of, in advertising, in political propaganda. It's the most common age for people to get caught up in a cult is those late teen, early 20 years when people are breaking away, looking for their own identity. And so that's the most common time, but it's not the only time. It is not the only time. People of all ages get caught up in surrendering their power. And so my thought was, okay, let's use this for good. And so I kind of looked at the ways he manipulated them. Now, we all have, this guy was a cult leader, right? He got everyone to believe in him. We all have a cult leader in our mind. We all have a cult leader in our mind. He was, what Lawrence did was he planted doubt in their mind all of the time, doubt in themselves. Now, come on, don't we all have an inner voice that plants doubt within us all of the time? And So we have that capability. We have that. We have our own little cult leader. Someone might say it might be the devil on your shoulder that is, bringing you down, that inner critic that just tells you you're not good enough all of the time. And we actually respond to that voice in our heads. So to use this good, to use the malleability, say that 5 times fast, the malleability of your mind for your good is, one, to understand that your mind is still very malleable. We are constantly being hypnotized by being bombarded with information all of the time. I used to, lots of people have told me, oh, I don't want anybody taking over my mind. I don't trust my whole childhood. Yes, Jamie. Yes, so good to see you here. It's all of our childhoods, right? We are downloaded with information. This is how life works. This is how the world works. This is how you work. This is how we work as a family. This is our family's story, and that's going to be your story. So we're downloaded with all of this information. And then we're trained to look outside of us for the authority figure. So the number one way to use the malleability of your mind, not the number one way, the number one step, to use the malleability of your mind on your behalf is to, number one, claim authority over your life. You be the authority. Now, what that means is, it doesn't mean you can't learn anything from anybody else. There's a difference in going, oh, I trust myself. I'm willing to trust myself to know, to be able to discern. If you watch the documentary, there was one college student girl they interviewed. She was like, he was weird. I stayed the hell away from him. It looked like a cult to me. What did she have that the other students didn't have? Was a strong sense of self. And so really having that strong sense of self and going, I'm going to be the authority. And trusting your instincts, building that sense of trust is super important. The second one, it's not super important, it's critical. You absolutely have to do that. And we're taught as children, of course, we're going to have authority figures in our lives. Our parents are the authority figures. And if they didn't know how to instill a sense of self-trust, if they didn't trust themselves, then certainly they couldn't instill a sense of self-trust. So that's something you get to build. One of the ways to do that, number one, is to journal. Journal your feelings, journal your experiences, and listen to you. Become the listener of you. That's something that this guy did, Larry Ray, is he listened to them. He listened to them and affirmed them. And a lot of us don't have that. And so doing that for yourself creates you to be the authority. One of the most healing things, so many women, when I first started doing this work with women, was that I validated their experience, right? Whatever emotions they had. And I'd have so many clients that had come from mainstream therapy, right? That said, oh, you must forgive. You should forgive. You have to let go of that. Before they could first process their emotions they're having. And sometimes I'd say, oh yeah, you have a right to be pissed. Yeah, you do have a right to be pissed. And when they were validated in their emotions, then they could heal that experience. So by journaling and getting in touch with yourself, who am I? What do I think? What do I feel? And validating, like, yeah, I have a right to feel that, right? Then you become a trustworthy person. You become a trustworthy person. Otherwise, we're just that voice in our head that came from our past that actually acts as a narcissistic cult leader, right? That's constantly putting us down. No matter what we do, we can't get it right. So that first step of going, I'm going to be the authority. I'm not going to let this voice in my head run my life anymore. That's the first way to start using the malleability of your mind for good. we are energetic beings. We are energy. And when there's this subtle piece, and I spent many years like doing the journaling, doing the gratitude journal, doing the meditation and the visualization, because that's what I was told would work in order to manifest the life I loved, right? To manifest all my dreams, to make the money. And what I didn't realize is that I was approaching all of those exercises from a space of powerlessness. I was approaching them from a space of powerlessness. Oh, I'm powerless. If I do this, I'll get what I want, right? And then there's this nuanced shift, and that I recognized I'm an energetic being. I am an energetic being. My dog is in here snoring if you hear her. So I'm going to quit trying to talk over her and just let you know that if you hear that noise in the background, it's my dog snoring. There's this nuanced shift that happens, that when I'm like, oh, I am pure energy. And when I come to this space of gratitude, my frequency, my energy shifts, and I'm putting that energy out, and I am affecting all of the energy around me. I'm affecting the astrals. I'm affecting the ethers. I am the cause of the effect. When prior to that, I was thinking, I'm doing this journaling, this gratitude journaling, and that is the cause. And then whatever results are the effect. There's this nuance. So feel into it, that I am the cause of the shift and the change, because I am an energetic being. So approaching everything that you do as the authority, right? I am the authority of the energy I put out. I am the authority of the energy if I'm feeling a particular emotion, if I'm feeling sad or depressed. I learned that I can transmute that. I don't suppress it, right? I'm aware there's this sadness. Where is this sadness coming from? What am I feeling, right? That's where the journaling comes in, and then transmuting that. So a powerful way I want to see, took a long time to find myself. I have never been more happy. My energy totally shifted. Yes, Jamie, that is so good, right? When we fully like find ourselves and acknowledge ourselves, right? Take the time to be that authority. So I want to give you a couple of things to do, is that a couple of awarenesses. Number one, as a hypnotherapist, so many people say, I don't want anybody controlling my mind. Well, people are controlling our minds all of the time, right? I mean, these kids, these college students didn't think I would never do hypnosis. Hypnosis is happening all of the time. That's one thing when I had an office and people came in, it wasn't all virtual, or it's like, at least you're going into hypnosis, right? We've made an agreement. The hypnosis is going to happen. But hypnosis is happening all the time. So repetition is what's required of shifting the neural pathways in your brain, is repetition, right? And that's something that this man provided, was repetition of these stories. If you tell the lie often enough, people are going to start believing it. And that's the repetition. That is how we become hypnotized. So you decide who you want to be in the world. If you want to be more spiritually awakened, or you want to reach this amount in sales, or you want to be a best-selling author, whatever it is, using that repetition, looking yourself in the mirror, looking into your eyes, and saying with conviction, this is who I am. Now, what's going to happen? is you're going to have these feelings of doubt, like, no, I'm not. This isn't really happening, right? So the feelings of doubt are going to come up, or the argument, or the who am I to say that? Who am I to do that? Nobody's going to want. That's going to trigger the opposite of what you want to create, which is really, really good, because then you can look at what your underlying beliefs are. You can see what those are. It's very tangible. It's like, oh, that popped up, right? You don't go, oh, I'm not going to say those affirmations anymore because it just makes me feel like shit because it's not true, right? It brings up exactly what you believe about yourself, why you think you can't have it. And then you can address those things. You can address them. That's work I do with my clients through emotional freedom technique, hypnosis, intuition, inner child work, sacred sacraments, right? One of the fastest ways that I have reoriented my mind and my beliefs and healed the traumas and the beliefs that I was less than I am is through sacred sacraments. And one of my most recent journeys, I asked the question, how do I make this much money a month, $42,000 a month? What are my steps to make $42,000 this month? And in the medicine, there was this booming laugh. That's all you want? You could have 143,000. You could have 43 million. And it said, you are the one that puts the dam, because medicine showed me this dam busting open, and said, you're the one who built the dam. You're the one who built the dam. And it came to fully integrating who we are. This whole story of being worthy of, or deserving, or I have to do this, or be of service, I have to earn it, is all just hypnosis, right? It's all stories we've been told. And just like those college students, we've been told it long enough that we believed it, right? And so now that we're awakening, when you know this, when you become aware, when you know something, you can't unknow it, right? When you become aware of it, you can't not be aware of it anymore. It's a part of who you are. So be aware of that. All those stories come up. They're just stories. And there's no stories. I've had so many people say to me, it's so deep. It's so deeply entrenched with me. Nothing is more deeply entrenched in you than the truth with a capital T. We're wired with the truth with a capital T. That is beneath all of the stories, all of the trauma, all of the whatever the illusions that we have been taught. So what's deepest is the truth. And as we peel away those illusions, those stories, those limitations, you begin to access the innate divinity that you are. So start journaling to become your loving, we have that inner cult leader that is so mean and harsh. What I want you to do is become like this most loving, nurturing parent to yourself, and decide, okay, remember when your parents said you can be anything you want, and then they got honest about their illusions, right? The truth is you can be, do, and have anything you want. And so journaling and being your confidant, being your authority in your life, right? And learning to go, how does that feel in my system? And then doing mirror work. Go to the mirror and talk to yourself. Look yourself in the eyes. Tell yourself, there's my dog, a big loud snore, how much you love yourself. I love you, Michelle Lee. Michelle Lee, I love you so much. You're absolutely an extraordinary person. I absolutely adore you. you are, you're highly impactful. You touch people's lives, you change people's lives. Whatever you want to be true in your life, start telling yourself that. Number 3, don't do this one time and expect your whole life to change. You need to be immersed in it. Bring yourself back to it. Another thing I do is I make a recording. With our phones, it's so easy to make recordings now. Make a recording of all the beautiful messages, right? The things you didn't hear when you were a kid, the things you want to hear to be supported, the things you want to create. Make a 5-minute recording. Listen to it. Take 5 minutes every couple of hours. Listen to it first thing in the morning. Listen to it last thing before you go to sleep. Immerse your mind. It's malleable, but if it's got lots of different information, and especially information that contradicts itself, it's going to take the path with least resistance, right? So, and the path of least resistance right now is the path that you've been hypnotized in already. So as you change the programming of your mind, the more often you do it and the more often you feel it, like, oh, what would it feel like to know that I am the authority of my life, that I am the cause of the effects, right? How does that feel? And feel that in your body. Good, Jamie. It's so helpful, right? You can make it with your own voice. You're talking to yourself. You're becoming the loving, supportive creator in your life. Hi, Diana. Love this, Michelle. You inspire me. This is what I want to be and teach. I am it. There you go, Diana. I am this. I am a teacher. People love me. People flock to me. Those are the words you get to say. So your brain is malleable. The problem is we have our own cult leader in there getting most of the airtime. And so what I'm inviting you to do is take over the airtime and, put duct tape on that inner cult leader's mouth, just duct tape it right up and put him in the corner until he can behave, right? And give your inner angel, your inner fairy godmother, Diana, the microphone. She's the only one that gets the microphone. So 1, begin journaling, listening to yourself, get in touch with what you really want to create. 2, do the mirror work. 3, make the recording. And put in the comments. Tell me what sounds most exciting to you. Is it the mirror work? Is it the recording? Or, what sounds most exciting? What do you feel is your biggest barrier to doing those things? Put those in the comments below. If this is the replay, #replay, let us know. I'm going to come back tomorrow and we're going to talk about power, because it's one thing that cult leader Larry had and the students didn't have is Larry had power and the students relinquished their power. And I want to talk about how that affects us as humans. And one of the greatest obstacles that I have seen in my clients, men and women, when it comes to power. So I'll be dropping in tomorrow to discuss that. And I look forward to seeing you all there. Thanks, Jamie. Thank you for tuning in. And I will see you tomorrow. Mwah. Bye for now.